I was the one who carried the cable spools. That was the whole of it, most days. Corvin ran point, because his reflexes had been rebuilt twice over. Reyes read the old glyph work faster than any scanner we owned. Okoye could bend rebar with her bare hands, and had done it, once, just to make the new hires flinch. I carried spools, checked the generators, and kept my mouth shut. Nobody puts a maintenance tech on the recruitment poster. We found the vault on the 9th week, cut into the shoulder of a dry mountain, on a world that had no name yet, only a survey number. The chamber inside was cold and huge, and empty, except for the thing standing at its center. A sentinel carved or cast or grown, I never learned which, easily 4 times the height of a man, its surface the gray of old iron, left too long in rain. Its eyes were open. They had always been open, the survey drones said, ever since the first pass over the mountain. Open, and seeing nothing. Corvin tried first, because Corvin always tried first. He set his palm flat against the sentinel's chest plate and pushed every augment he had into the contact. Heat, current, the little pulse generators sewn into his forearms. Nothing. Reyes spent 2 days reading the glyph bands ringing its base, running them against every dead language the company had on file, certain the right word would do it. Nothing answered her either. Okoye hit it. I want to say that surprised me, but it didn't. She hit it with a full augmented swing that would have folded a bulkhead, and the sound rang through that cold chamber like a bell that refused to break. And the sentinel did not move, and she walked away rubbing her hand and not saying anything for the rest of the day. I watched all of it from the generator line, where I mostly stood. I wasn't jealous exactly. You get used to being the one who isn't tried first. The company had sent Corvin, Reyes, and Okoye, because each of them had been built or trained past the ordinary edges of what a person could do, and I understood the sense in that. You send your strongest hands to open a locked door. I checked fuel lines. I patched the water reclaimers when they coughed. In the evenings I listened to the specialists argue about approach angles and resonance frequencies over reheated rations, and I mostly listened, because I didn't have anything to add. But I noticed something none of the specialists seemed to notice, because they were looking at the sentinel, and I was looking at the floor around it. A groove worn into the stone, shallow, circling the statue's base. The kind of groove you get from centuries of something walking the same slow lap, over and over, keeping watch on a door that never opened. Nobody had built that groove. It had been worn there, one patient footstep at a time, by something that had stood its post long after everyone who'd set it there was dust. I mentioned it to Reyes once. She looked at it for a second, said it was interesting, and went back to her translations. It wasn't data. It didn't fit anywhere on her scanner. On the 11th night, the support beam over the east gallery cracked. I heard it before anyone else did, because I was the one who slept closest to the generators, listening to them the way some men listen to weather. I got the crew jack under the beam with maybe 90 seconds to spare, and it was heavy, and it was dark, and there was nobody near me to help. So I did what a man does when there's no one to call. I talked to it. I told the beam it wasn't going to win, the way you talk to a stubborn engine, low and steady, more for my own nerves than the beam's benefit. I got it braced. I got everyone out from under it. Then I sat down in the dust to get my breath back, right at the base of the sentinel, close enough to touch the groove worn into the stone. That was when the light started. It didn't begin in its eyes. I want to be clear about that, because I'd heard enough old stories to expect eyes opening, and that isn't what happened. Its eyes had been open the whole time, dead as glass. What lit first was the collar of glyphs at its throat, the ones Reyes had spent 2 days failing to translate. They kindled amber, one after another, quick as a fuse, and the light ran down into its chest and out along its arms like something waking up from the inside instead of the outside. Corvin was on his feet with a weapon half raised, before Reyes caught his wrist and held it there. Okoye didn't move at all. None of them came closer. I don't blame them. I didn't move either, mostly because I couldn't. I was still sitting in the dust with my back half against warm stone, and the warmth was new, and it was spreading. The sentinel's head turned, not fast. It took its time, the way an old man turns to see who's called his name, and it looked down at all of them first. Corvin, with his rebuilt nerves, Reyes, with her borrowed languages, Okoye, with her bruised and swollen hand, and it held there a long moment on each of them, and something in the set of its shoulders read, even to me, as regret. Then it looked past them, down the line of generator cable, to where I sat. It knelt, 4 times the height of a man, and it folded down onto one knee in front of me, with a sound like a mountain settling, slow and total, until its head was level with mine, and its open eyes, for the first time since the drones had found it, actually seemed to be looking at something. It spoke. The voice didn't come from a mouth, exactly. It came from the whole standing shape of it, low, worn smooth by time, the way the groove in the floor was worn smooth. And it said, the only thing it said to me in all the time I knew it after, "The watch is yours now, Guardian." Nobody spoke for a long while. Reyes finally asked it, carefully, what it meant, what a guardian was, what I had done to earn a word like that from a thing that hadn't moved in longer than any of our histories went back. It didn't answer her. It only looked at me, patient, the way you look at someone you've been waiting on so long, that the waiting itself has become a kind of peace. I asked it, my voice came out smaller than I meant it to. Why me? Why not the ones who could bend steel, who could read its language, who had tried first and tried hardest? It said the vault had never been sealed against strength, or cleverness, or force. It said it had been sealed against everyone who came to take something from it. And I hadn't come to take anything. I had come to hold a beam up so no one under it got hurt, and then I had sat down in its shadow and talked quietly to the dark, the way its own line of keepers had done for longer than the mountain had worn a groove around its feet. It said that was the whole of the test, and had always been the whole of the test, and that every specialist sent against it for 10,000 years had failed it in the first minute, without ever knowing there was a test to fail. I don't carry cable spools anymore. I never asked for what came with kneeling there in the dust. A duty passed hand to hand down some line I never knew I was part of, a name I hadn't earned so much as simply not disqualified myself from. The company wanted to crate the Sentinel and ship it planetside for study. It hasn't moved since that night, not for them, not for me. And I've come to understand that's its own kind of answer. The watch doesn't need performing for an audience. It only needs keeping. Corvin shakes my hand different now, like he's recalculating something he thought he'd already solved. Reyes still asks it questions it still won't answer her, though she's stopped expecting a reply and started just talking to it the way you'd talk to an old teacher who'd gone quiet. Okoye doesn't say much, but she nods at me in the mornings like she's revising an old opinion, slowly, the way you do when you're not ready to say it out loud yet. Some nights I go and sit at the base of the Sentinel, in the groove worn smooth by whoever held this before me, and I don't say anything at all. I don't have to. It already knows I'm there. That's the part nobody tells you about being chosen. It isn't the light, or the voice, or the kneeling. It's the quiet after, when the thing that waited 10,000 years for you finally lets itself rest, and you understand, all at once, that the waiting is yours to do now, for whoever comes next.